What if I told you silence isn't emptiness, but a weapon, not weakness, but power? In a world obsessed with noise, those who master silence don't disappear. They dominate. True silence is presence, it's control, it's the ultimate flex without saying a word. Have you ever walked away from a conversation, heart pounding, mind racing, feeling like you were defeated, even though you said everything you meant to? Have you ever sat in silence, not because you had nothing to say, but because it felt like no one would listen anyway? Maybe you're surrounded by people who talk over you, mock you, who dominate rooms with loud voices and sharper egos, masking their insecurity with fake confidence. And maybe, just maybe, you've convinced yourself that staying quiet makes you weak, that not arguing back means you're giving in, that walking away means you've lost. But what if that's all a lie? What if true power doesn't come from speaking, but from knowing when not to? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood minds in history, saw something most people never dare to admit. Those who talk too much expose too much. Those who argue the hardest are already at a disadvantage, because when you feel the need to convince, it means deep down you're not fully convinced yourself. We're taught that every disagreement is a battle we must win. But Nietzsche offered another way, a quieter, deadlier path. He saw silence not as absence, but as presence, a force that disorients, unsettles, and strips away illusion. This message is for you, the one who feels ignored, the one who walks away from conversations wondering why no one really heard you, the one who keeps the peace while others push your boundaries. You've confused your silence with submission, but today you'll discover that silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. And the ultimate victory? It isn't in winning arguments, it's in rising so far above them. You don't need to argue at all. Let's unlock a new kind of power, a calm, unshakable strength. Get ready to see silence for what it really is, a weapon. Let's go deeper into Nietzsche's mind and learn how to master any room without saying a single word. Why do we feel the urge to respond, to justify, to explain? Because somewhere deep inside we believe if we don't, we'll be forgotten. But Nietzsche saw this as the root of weakness. The ego terrified of being questioned, the fragile self that mistakes every disagreement as a threat. He said most people don't seek truth, they seek control. They argue not to understand, but to protect their version of reality. So when you feel that tug to explain yourself, you're already caught in their game, because needing to explain is needing permission to exist. Nietzsche called it herd morality, a craving for approval, applause, acceptance. But approval is a trap. Real strength comes from standing still in the face of rejection and not flinching. Power isn't about dominating others, it's about mastering yourself, staying calm while others unravel, observing while others act on impulse, remaining still while the world around you spins in chaos. If you truly want to win, stop playing their game. Silence isn't passive, it's precision. Nietzsche introduced a radical figure, the Übermensch, not a superhuman with brute strength, but someone who has transcended the need to prove, defend, or explain. He doesn't react. He creates. He doesn't argue. He commands with presence alone. And his greatest tool? Silence. Not empty silence, but loaded, intentional, unshakable stillness. This silence is strategic. It isn't weakness. It's a quiet storm. Others shout. He watches. Others scramble. He waits. And in that silence, they crack. They show their fears. They reveal their insecurity, because silence forces them to face the one person they've been avoiding. themselves. In a world full of noise, those who master silence are not just heard, they are feared, because nothing is more unsettling than someone who doesn't need your approval, who isn't fazed by your insults, who cannot be guilted, baited, or broken. This is the power Nietzsche saw, the power to move silently and still shake the ground beneath you. Psychologists now confirm what Nietzsche knew intuitively. Silence makes people nervous. It triggers their insecurities. It makes them second-guess their words. They don't know what you're thinking, so they project their worst fears. Are they judging me? Did they see through me? In this chaos, you hold the upper hand. Silence becomes a mirror, and what they see? Often unbearable. So the next time someone provokes you, tests you, tries to pull you into their emotional game, pause and let your silence do what no argument ever could. Reveal their truth. Because true strength is not loud. True power is not reactive. True mastery is silent. Now that you understand the power of silence, it's time to learn how to use it, not as a shield, but as a weapon. From here on, you will no longer just know silence. You will command it. You will wield it. And when you do, no one will ever control you again. The first technique is brutal. Be silent, especially when your ego screams to speak. You'll want to defend yourself. You'll feel the urge to prove you're right. Don't. Because that urge, that's the leash they pull to control you. Real silence is born the moment you kill that need. When you understand the truth doesn't need an audience, and you owe no one an explanation. Weapon 2, observation. While others ramble, you study. You listen like a predator watches its prey. You hear the fear behind the bravado, the weakness behind the words. You store everything. And when you strike, your words are surgical. One sentence, no wasted motion, maximum impact. Weapon 3, time. Let the silence hang. The pause creates pressure, and pressure makes people crumble. They fill the void with their own paranoia. You do nothing, and yet you are in control. Weapon 4, unpredictability. When you speak less, people can't read you. And what people can't predict, they fear. You flip the dynamic. You're no longer reacting. You become the center of gravity. Every word, every glance becomes law. But don't confuse this silence with passivity. This silence isn't weak. It's coiled power. It's presence. You are not withdrawing. You are waiting. And when you do speak, you end conversations, not with volume, but with undeniable truth. But what if the silence you're living isn't strength? What if it's submission? What if the silence you think is peace is actually surrender? Every day, people manipulate you, not through words, but through your lack of them. You think you're avoiding conflict, but they're building kingdoms on your silence. You've been told that staying quiet is mature, that biting your tongue means you've evolved. But what if it's a trap? What if your silence is not strength, but domesticated surrender? They take your calmness for weakness. They push, they take, they decide, and you let them. You say it's not worth the fight, that you're keeping the peace. But that peace is costing you everything. You are being used by people who know you will never push back. Nietzsche called it the morality of the slave, a silent code that teaches you to shrink, to be good, to be quiet, to obey, and to feel proud for doing it. But Nietzsche didn't write for the ones who obey. He wrote for those who break the code, for the ones who realize they are being used and refuse to be silent any longer. Because real power is not in domination of others, but mastery of yourself. To be silent not because you fear, but because you've become unshakable. That old silence, the silence of fear, must die. In its place, a new silence must be born, one that does not beg, one that does not bend, one that commands respect without ever needing to speak. This is the silence that Nietzsche respected, not weakness, but unspoken authority. But how do you get there? How do you rise above this herd morality and become someone whose silence carries weight? You become the Übermensch. We spoke of him before, but now it's time to become him, because this world has enough noise. What it needs now is the kind of silence that can move mountains. Comment below, not just to show you made it this far, but to publicly declare that your silence will never again be mistaken for weakness. And don't stop here. Watch the next video, not for me, but for the version of you that's waiting to rise. The weak shout. The strong remain silent. The WISE, they choose win. So the next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, don't react. Pause. Stay silent, because in that silence, they expose themselves, not you. True strength isn't loud. True power doesn't chase. It just watches and lets the truth speak for itself. If this message resonated with you, don't just listen, live it. Master the art of silence. And when you're ready, join us on this journey. Tap subscribe, leave a comment below, and let's keep exploring the power within.